just because I ate 2 extra Swiss rolls. My fiancé decided to put me in my place. He left the engagement party with all of his relatives, leaving me alone to face my relatives, who were on their way to attend. Panicking, I sent a message in the childhood friends group chat asking for help. Everyone started throwing out wild ideas. Who's going to help Celestine out? There are so many quality guys in our group. Are we really worried she won't have a fiancé? I gave a bitter smile. Don't joke. An engagement party needs more than just a groom. Even if one of you can show up to help me save face, can your relatives get here in time to play along? Unexpectedly, the usually silent CEO, Horace Koo, dropped a message. Give me 10 minutes. My relatives will all be there. Later, I heard from his cousin. That was the first time my cousin ever asked for help in the family group chat. He sent out a flood of red envelopes and said he wanted a wife. Whether he could successfully steal someone else's bride came down to how fast our aunts and uncles could act. Chapter 1. On the day of my engagement, I had already informed all my relatives to come to the hotel at 6 p.m. for the party. But Stephen blocked me on every platform, all because I ate 2 Swiss rolls ones I bought myself. Stephen, full of patriarchal arrogance, lectured me. I didn't say you can't eat. There were only 8 Swiss rolls. I ate 6. You ate 2. Then what are my sister's kids supposed to eat? Snacks aren't meals. You know. And this is before we're even married. You're already not considering the children. If we do get married and have kids, how can I trust you to save the good stuff for them? I was so angry I laughed. Swiss rolls are the good stuff. If getting married means I can't even eat a Swiss roll, then maybe we shouldn't get married at all. I never expected that saying. Those words would ruin everything. Stephen walked out immediately with all his family members, leaving me sitting alone in the banquet hall, waiting for my parents and relatives to arrive for the engagement dinner. The hotel staff in the hallway were whispering, "Did you hear? There's an engagement party tonight in the top-tier banquet hall." But before it even started, the groom's family walked out and left the bride alone. How are they even going to go through with it now? The bride was supposedly really invested in this party. She designed everything herself. Goes to show, flaunting your love too much ends in disaster. And this was fast. When her relatives show up, it's going to be so humiliating. They'll act sympathetic on the surface, but deep down they'll be laughing their heads off. I clench my fists, already imagining the scene. I couldn't even begin to think how I'd face it. Desperate, I threw out a message in our group chat. The group exploded. What did you say? That loser Stephen left you at the party because of 2 Swiss rolls. That ungrateful, freeloading simp. Has he forgotten who paid for his tuition all the way from high school through his PhD? I told you in high school not to waste your money on broke genius types. Stephen's the classic Phoenix man. Now that he's got a PhD, he shows his true colors. This wasn't about Swiss rolls. He's gaslighting you and trying to control you mentally. Good thing you saw through him before marriage. This is what we call a blessed woman doesn't marry into a cursed family. You should be setting off fireworks. Okay. Enough with the ranting. The real issue now is Celestine's stuck alone at the venue. Her relatives are super gossipy and just dying to watch her make a fool of herself. What if we find someone to help her out last minute? We've got plenty of high-quality guys here. What's the worst that can happen? You think Celestine can't get another fiancé? I could hear the voices of my relatives arriving outside. I forced a bitter smile and sent one last message. It's too late. My relatives are here. Besides, an engagement party isn't just about the groom. You also need his family. Even if one of you can help me out, can your whole extended family show up and act along? It's impossible. Forget it. Let them laugh. Since when have I, Celestine, cared about gossip? I left the group chat and forced myself to go greet the guests, bracing myself for the first storm of my life. But just then, a message popped up on my phone. Horace, give me 10 minutes. My relatives will all be there. Chapter 2. From the hallway came the booming voice of my third aunt. Celestine, what's going on? I heard from a server that the groom's entire family ran off and left you here alone. I didn't even have time to read the group messages. I figured Horace must be joking. Even if you gave him an hour, not just 10 minutes, he couldn't possibly gather all his relatives to help me. We grew up together, I know his situation better than anyone, not to mention his parents. Even his extended family are always flying around the world on business. And as for him, he's been impossible to reach lately. Every time we try to organize a get-together, he only replies with one word: busy. Ever since he inherited his family's billions, he's been running around nonstop. He barely even appears in the group chat anymore. Why would he suddenly offer to help me today? Was I so desperate for someone to show up that I started hallucinating? The group chat was blowing up, dinging nonstop. I had no idea what they were saying. I didn't have time to look. My relatives had already arrived. My parents were at the front. My dad rushed over, panicked. Celestine, what's going on? My mom looked around nervously. Where's Stephen and his family? Didn't you say they'd already arrived? You kept calling us, telling us to hurry, so we wouldn't keep them waiting. I once read a story in the news. On her wedding day, the groom broke off the engagement, and the bride boldly told her relatives, "The wedding's off, just treat this as a dinner party. Let's eat." Her relatives played along. Everyone ate, laughed, and had a great time. I really wanted to imitate that moment, but before I could say anything, my third aunt's loud voice cut in. What are you still asking for? Isn't it obvious? Didn't you hear what the server said? The groom ran off. His whole family ran off. They left Celestine here by herself. I told you that Kim boy couldn't be trusted, but you wouldn't listen. Well, look now. Celestine's going to be the laughingstock of the whole city. How is she supposed to show her face after this? So what if I got dumped? Is it really the end of the world? I shouted back at her. Why wouldn't I be able to show my face? Chapter 3. I forced myself not to feel sad, but my eyes still betrayed me, starting to fill with tears. From my second year in high school all the way to this year when he got his PhD, I supported Stephen. How much had I invested in him? And this is how he repaid me. Walking out of our engagement banquet over 2 Swiss rolls, when he ate 6 of them himself. Why didn't he think about leaving some for the kids? I still remember back in our second year of high school, his family had a sudden financial crisis. They couldn't even afford tuition. His mom was about to transfer him back to their hometown to attend a county-level school. That day, Stephen stood in the rain, completely crushed, begging me, "Celestine, can you lend me some money so I can finish high school here? Don't worry, I'll definitely repay you in the future." Stephen had good grades, a smart mind, and looked even better than most boys. I couldn't bear to see him in the rain, looking like a stray puppy with nowhere to go. So I gave him all my allowance to cover his tuition gap. From that point on, people called me Stephen's simp. To make sure he could stay in school, I endured the insults. I even told him not to feel guilty. He should just study hard and succeed. And succeed he did. He fought his way to a PhD and made it. What I didn't expect was that his idea of success included this. The first thing he did after making it was betray the one who loved him. I lifted my head, shut my eyes tightly, forced myself to swallow the tears trying to spill out. It took a long time, but I finally held them back. Facing the eyes of all my relatives, I said recklessly, "Go ahead and laugh if you want." Suddenly, from outside the banquet hall, came the sharp, steady sound of leather shoes on the floor. A calm, deep voice struck the air like thunder. Who said I broke off the engagement? Who's spreading lies? Chapter 4. I turned toward the voice in disbelief. A tall, handsome man suddenly pushed open the doors to the banquet hall. His overpowering CEO aura immediately silenced all the gossiping relatives. The air became so still. You could hear a pin drop. I rubbed my eyes hard, even as Horace walked toward me, step by step with calm confidence. My mind was still blank. Was he really here to back me up? My relatives were even more shocked than I was. Celestine, was it your fiancé, Stephen Kim? Why is it suddenly the Koo family's boy?
Of course I wasn't about to say he came to help me save face.
Thinking fast, I wrapped my arm around Horace's and leaned into his chest. You must have misheard. I said my fiancé is Horace. As for Stephen Kim,
He was just some guy I was toying with.
something to pass the time. But for marriage, I'd never marry beneath my status. I need someone from a matching family. Horace looked down at me with affectionate eyes and gave me a subtle, knowing look. I forced a smile. Out in public, your identity is what you make it. If Stephen had the nerve to call off the engagement over 2 Swiss rolls, then from now on, he would be nothing more than some guy I toyed with. I'm a dazzling heiress from a prestigious family. Why should I cry over some ungrateful piece of trash? Chapter 5. But my relatives clearly weren't buying it. My third aunt smacked her forehead dramatically. I get it now. You panicked and pulled someone in last minute,
Didn't you?
I remember you and that Koo boy were childhood friends. He always had your back no matter what. Now you're staging a show for us.
Aren't you?
The rest of them started catching on, chiming in all at once.
Yeah.
I remember Celestine got bullied by older kids when she was 7, and that Koo boy fought off a dozen bigger boys just to protect her. He came home black and blue,
Got scolded by his dad.
but all he said was, "No one gets to bully Celestine." And I remember when she sprained her ankle during the sports meet in 8th grade. Horace came over every day to tutor her. That was right when Celestine's dad was having a falling out with the Koo family and told Horace not to visit. But Horace still climbed over the wall every night until one day he slipped and fell. Even then,
He said,
you can't stop me from seeing Celestine. Case closed. It's obviously a last-minute cover-up. But this is an engagement party, not a joke. You two need to stop pretending. Marriage is serious business. Facing the growing skepticism, Horace pulled me closer by the waist, calm and unshaken. Uncles, aunties, this isn't an act.
If you already know I've
Only ever had eyes for Celestine. Then of course I'd do whatever it takes to marry her.
There's no way I'd just stand by
and watch her marry someone else. But no matter what we said, my relatives wouldn't believe it. My third aunt laughed out loud. You young people are still too green. An engagement isn't something you can fake with a last-minute stand-in. Engagement means 2 families coming together. If this is real, then where are your parents? Where are your relatives? Why hasn't a single one of them shown up? I started to panic. I knew just one person wouldn't be enough to pull this off. But Horace leaned in and whispered in my ear,
Don't worry.
"Trust me, I've got this." Then he politely and respectfully turned to my dad and said, "Uncle Song, my parents and relatives are on their way. It's rush hour right now, and traffic's terrible. If you don't believe me, I can call my dad and have him explain everything to you directly." Chapter 6. Horace dialed his dad and put the call on speaker.
Dad.
"Where are you guys?" "Celestine's relatives are all here. Why aren't you here yet? Do you want her to lose face?" I held my breath, worried Uncle Koo might lash out and scold Horace on the spot. But to my surprise, his voice on the phone was calm and gracious. "Oh, come on. I told you there's traffic. What are you rushing us for? The Koo and Song families go way back. You think they'd accuse us of being rude just because we're stuck in traffic? Put me on with old Song. I'll apologize to him personally." Horace handed the phone to my dad. True to his reputation as a savvy businessman, my dad switched gears immediately, laughing as he took the call. Old Koo,
Do you still want to marry my
Celestine into your family, or not? You're even later than I am. How much longer? Uncle Koo chuckled. Almost there. Almost there, 10 minutes at most. Traffic is a nightmare. But I didn't want to keep you waiting. So I've already arranged for a helicopter to pick me up. I thought he was joking. But soon, multiple helicopters descended onto the rooftop terrace of the hotel. Staring in disbelief, I whispered to Horace,
Did your dad really
switch to a helicopter midway here? Horace smiled. Nope. He was already on it when he called. There was no way he'd make it in time by car. So I scrambled a few helicopters to pick them up. Moments later, the rhythmic sound of footsteps echoed outside the banquet hall. Click-clack, click-clack. Horace's parents, followed by all the Koo relatives, entered with such poise and presence. I felt completely overwhelmed. Chapter 7. Right then, my phone buzzed. Stephen flashed across the screen. Annoyed, I shoved it into Horace's hand. I don't want to answer. You take it. Horace pulled me aside and tapped speakerphone. Stephen's cold voice came through. Realize your mistake yet? Your relatives are all there now.
right?
As long as you admit you were wrong, I'll bring my family over immediately. I wouldn't just leave you there to deal with it alone. Horace responded calmly. Celestine has already canceled the engagement party. Stephen sounded startled. No way. Then what is she going to tell her relatives? She said she rescheduled. Stephen clearly let out a breath of relief. Even if she wants to reschedule, she has to apologize first. Otherwise, I won't condone this kind of selfish behavior that ignores the needs of children. I rolled up my sleeves, ready to curse him out, but Horace made a SHHH gesture and hung up the call. I protested. Why did you say we rescheduled? I'm never going to be engaged to him again. Horace looked at me with unreadable eyes. You've liked him for so many years.
Now,
Just because of 2 Swiss rolls, you're letting it go. The fire in my chest surged.
exactly.
I liked him for years, and he repaid me by humiliating me over 2 snacks. Why should I keep holding on to garbage like that? I'm not that pathetic. A smirk tugged at the corner of Horace's lips. So you're done with him for good? I nodded firmly. Completely. Let's just say I raised a pet project. All these years, no one raises one forever. No way. I want to call him back and curse him out. Tell him the engagement party is still happening, whether he and his broke relatives show up or not. I'm going to make this party spectacular. Burning with the urge to slap him in the face, I reached for my phone. But Horace gently stopped me. Once the party ends, just post a few pictures of the celebration online. That'll humiliate him far more. Why give him a chance to come here and ruin everything? If he finds out the party's still on, he'll crash it with his whole broke entourage. Do you really want your relatives to watch another disaster unfold? It hit me like a bucket of cold water. You're right. We'll finish this performance first. I looked at him gratefully. You're always the one I can count on.
Thank you.
Horace. But how did you convince your parents and all your relatives to go along with this? Don't worry, I'll find an excuse in a few months to say we weren't compatible. I'd never ask you to keep this up for long. I thought those words would give Horace peace of mind, just finish tonight and walk away. But suddenly, he cupped my chin in one hand, already planning to burn the bridge before we've crossed it. He leaned in, nothing like the relaxed, easygoing Horace I was used to. He stepped into my space, eliminating the safe distance between us. His masculine presence overwhelmed me. I blinked, confused. What do you mean? But instead of answering, Horace asked back, Celestine, do you know why I got here so fast? Actually, I've been meaning to ask that too. You showed up barely a second after my relatives did. If I didn't know better, I'd think you teleported. So, why were you able to get here so quickly? Chapter 8. Horace was silent for a long time, as if he couldn't bring himself to speak. His eyes were turbulent, emotion crashing beneath the surface. Then he closed them for a moment. When he opened them again, the words he spoke hit me like a thunderclap.
Celestine.
I knew tonight was your engagement party with Stephen. I kept telling myself not to come. I packed my day with meetings to distract myself. But I couldn't control my legs. I couldn't control my hands. I gripped the steering wheel the whole way, trying to talk myself down. Horace, don't be insane. Celestine has the right to choose her own partner. Why are you even going there? What are you going to do, storm into her engagement party and drag her away? Are you going to kiss her in front of everyone and beg her not to marry Stephen? You can't do anything. Don't go humiliate yourself. But my foot still slammed the gas pedal down. I raced there like a madman. Actually, I got to the hotel before you and Stephen. I parked right out front and watched you arrive. I saw Stephen's car.
2.
And all his broke-ass relatives, one by one, walking into the lobby, walking in to attend your engagement. But I couldn't get out. I knew if I stepped out of that car, I'd ruin everything. So I sat there stuck in a mental war with the devil in my own head. Then you messaged the group asking for help. I saw them tossing around ideas, trying to find a fake fiancé to help you save face. You have no idea how thrilled I was in that moment. Even taking over the family business or closing impossible deals never got me that excited. Celestine, do you know what I mean? He stared at me, eyes bloodshot and burning with intensity. It sent a jolt straight through my heart. Even if I were the densest person alive, I could no longer pretend not to understand. But it shocked me so much, I didn't know how to react. My breathing became erratic, and I couldn't find my rhythm. I awkwardly tried to deflect. Horace, did you drink? You smell like alcohol. Are you drunk? He closed his eyes again, this time in anguish. I wish I was drunk. But I've never been more sober in my life. I know that saying this might ruin our friendship forever. But Celestine, I like you. I've liked you since we were kids. Why did you have to fall for Stephen? You have no idea how much I wanted to destroy him. You know what story I hate the most? Cinderella. You're Cinderella. Stephen is your Prince Charming. And I'm the evil stepbrother trying to ruin everything. But I never wanted to hurt you. At the end, a tear rolled down his cheek and landed on the back of my hand, and at that moment, he looked even more like a pitiful, stray puppy than Stephen ever did. When he stood crying in the rain, Celestine, is there even a 0.000001% chance for me? Chapter 9. I had never seen Horace look so helpless, so humble. In my memory, he had always been strong. He was the one who held up the sky when it came crashing down. I thought we'd be childhood friends forever, that nothing could ever come between us. I never imagined a moment like this would come, but I had a powerful feeling. If I said no, he would disappear from my life forever. He would never speak to me again. My heart suddenly started racing, spiraling into panic, even more than when Stephen walked out on me with his whole family. Horace, please don't be like this. I need a moment to think.
He didn't say anything.
He just looked at me quietly for 30 full seconds, then finally stepped back, letting go of me like granting a royal pardon. He took a step away, defeated. I understand, Celestine. He turned to leave. I instinctively grabbed his arm.
Horace.
Where are you going? Still facing away from me, he replied. To help you deal with the guests. Don't worry, I won't leave. I'm not like Stephen. I'd never abandon you like that. I'd never let you face this alone. But his back looked so lonely, like I'd stabbed him straight through the heart. He was barely standing, trying to act strong, gritting his teeth just to support me in front of everyone. In that moment, my chest tightened, and my nose stung.
Then,
I did something unbelievably bold. I pulled him back toward me and stood on my toes. Horace, always calm and unflappable, now stared wide-eyed in complete shock, His reaction gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. So I raised my arms and wrapped them around his neck, pulling him even closer. He froze for only 2 seconds before wrapping his arms around my waist tightly, like he wanted to pull me into his very soul. His voice was hoarse. "Celestine, do you know what you're doing?" "I do. I just don't want to see you hurting." He suddenly crushed his lips against mine. I could feel his urgency, like he was going insane. He'd never lost control like this before.
Chapter 10.
Meanwhile, Stephen was telling his relatives, "You guys go home for now." Celestine rescheduled the engagement party. "Once the new date is confirmed, I'll let you know." His mother asked, "Why did she suddenly change the date? Why didn't she apologize to you?" "She's not planning to call it off."
Is she?
"Stephen, you need to get clear answers. Our family can give Celestine a wake-up call, but we can't actually lose the golden goose." Stephen was confident. "Relax. Celestine's liked me since high school. You really think she dumped me over 2 Swiss rolls? I'm the best investment she's ever made. The more she's put into me, the harder it'll be for her to walk away. Besides, weren't you the one who told me to stir up some drama? Knock her down a peg?"
Mrs. Kim replied.
With Celestine's background, if you don't assert dominance early and test her obedience, I'm afraid you won't be able to control your wife in the future. What I'm doing is for your own good." Stephen thought of how upset Celestine had looked, and it made him uneasy.
All right.
"I get it. Once she marries me, I'll make it up to her. Out of everyone, she's always treated me the best. None of you care about me the way she does." He imagined Celestine was probably crying her eyes out right now. He wanted to call and comfort her, but he was afraid that would ruin the obedience test. His family background didn't compare to hers.
If he didn't assert himself now,
He'd have no authority once they were married. Forget it. He'd let her cool off for a couple of days. Let her sit and reflect. Chapter 11. That night at the engagement party, Horace and I were too impulsive. Even 2 days later, I still hadn't recovered from that wildly out-of-control kiss. Thankfully, the party itself went surprisingly smoothly.
before that night,
My relatives always said I was out of my mind for wanting to marry a kept man. But that evening,
the atmosphere was
incredible. Everyone was full of praise, saying I had finally opened my eyes. They all said Horace and I were a perfect match, made for each other. Turns out, gaining your relatives' approval feels pretty amazing. The Koo family elders even gave me big red envelopes, saying Horace must have accumulated good karma over several lifetimes to land someone like me. That was emotional validation at its finest. Unlike the broke relatives of the Kim family, it was Stephen Kim who was clearly marrying up. Yet they acted like, because he had a PhD, I should feel honored to marry him.
please.
I have a master's degree too. Okay. That night, I didn't post anything online. I was saving up for a dramatic reveal. All those years I financially supported Stephen. I wanted every cent back. Stephen didn't have money, but his pride was sky high. Every time I gave him money, he'd write me an IOU, saying he'd repay me once he made it. I never took those IOUs seriously, but I liked his handwriting, so I kept them all. Now I've handed them over to my lawyer. I told him to collect every penny, not a cent less. Chapter 12. That night, everyone in the childhood friends group chat found out that Horace had shown up with his entire family to help me save face. They were even more excited than I was. They practically wanted to set off fireworks all night to celebrate. Someone booked a private room and invited me out. The moment I arrived, everyone started teasing. Celestine, we heard the two of you really sold it that night. Your relatives even caught you kissing in a corner.
So,
How was kissing Horace, who made the first move? They just had to bring up the most embarrassing part. My face burned with shame. I denied it outright. That's nonsense. Horace and I have known each other since we were toddlers, practically shared diapers. We're as close as siblings. How could we possibly kiss? Even rabbits don't eat the grass near their own burrow, haha. It's absolutely impossible. Since Horace wasn't around, I figured I could deny it however I wanted. I didn't expect him to be leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, watching me with a complex smile. Funny, I seem to remember. You really enjoying it that night. Want me to help jog your memory? I jumped. When did you get here? You didn't make a sound. Horace walked over and wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me tightly into his chest. Around us, everyone started cheering. Oh, kiss, kiss. I wanted to disappear into the floor. I pushed him hard, but he didn't budge. He lifted my chin gently and tilted my face up. Let me ask you again. Can a rabbit eat the grass near its own burrow or not?
Celestine, I want to hear you say it.
That night, when we lost control kissing, our relatives had walked in and interrupted us.
Since then,
we had both avoided bringing it up. Neither of us mentioned it in the past 2 days. And yet,
tonight,
all because I said one little lie to save face. Horace wanted me to give him a clear answer in front of all our childhood friends. I whispered,
pleading.
Let's talk about it later. Please just let me go for now.
No.
I want to hear your answer. Celestine, can we turn the act into something real? Chapter 13. Right then, my phone rang in my pocket. Stephen again. I did a mental calculation. He'd probably just been contacted by my lawyer to repay his debt. It made sense he was calling now. I tried to step out of Horace's arms to answer, but he wouldn't let go. He held me tighter, stubborn and slightly panicked, like he was afraid I'd slip back into Stephen's life at any moment. I gave up and just let him hold me. So I answered the call,
pressed against his chest.
Stephen's angry voice came through the speaker.
Celestine,
what the hell are you doing? Do you still want to be engaged or not? Come to the Rose Garden Villa right now. I replied calmly. Fine. Wait for me. And I hung up. Horace frowned. You're really going to see him? I smirked. The Rose Garden Villa is mine. So is the car he's driving. We've already broken up. Why should he still be living in my house and driving my car? He must be delusional. Horace's expression instantly cleared like a sky after storm. I'll go with you. I'm worried you won't be able to handle him alone. Our childhood friends all stood up too. Yeah. Celestine, we're all coming. Let's go kick that loser out of your house once and for all. Chapter 14. Stephen and his mom were still living in the villa. Mrs. Kim asked,
So,
what did Celestine say? Is she coming? Stephen, holding a stack of IOU copies the lawyer had given him, forced down his rage. She'll be here soon. Mrs. Kim tried to comfort him. Don't be mad. Celestine loves you so much. There's no way. She actually wants you to repay all that money. She's probably just doing this to force you to coax her. I told you rich girls are hard to handle. But you didn't listen. Now she's giving you economic sanctions. When she shows up, you must not cave. You need to let her believe she could actually lose you. That's the only way to keep her in check.
Got it, Mom.
Stop nagging. If it weren't for you pushing me to stir the pot, the engagement would have gone smoothly. Now she's humiliating me with all those old IOUs. Stephen picked up his car keys. I'm going to the florist. Flowers always cheer her up. But the moment he stepped outside,
several bodyguards in black
blocked his path and took his keys. One of them spoke with zero courtesy. Per Miss Celestine's instructions, we're here to reclaim her house and car. You and your sugar mama loving ass can pack up and leave. Immediately, Stephen turned red with rage. Who are you calling a sugar baby? The bodyguard gave him a shove and sneered. You know exactly who we're talking about. You're just some plaything the young lady kept around. Don't flatter yourself.
I spit on that.
Mrs. Kim came running out in a panic. How dare you talk about my son like that? He has a PhD? The bodyguards ignored her completely. They stormed into the villa and began tossing everything that belonged to Stephen. and his mom out onto the front lawn. Mrs. Kim was frantic, shouting and stomping. "What are you doing? That's our stuff. Who gave you the right? Don't touch anything, not a single item, son. Say something. Are they throwing us out for real? This is my son's home. Who gave you the right?" She dropped to the ground, flailing and howling. But the bodyguards had no time for dramatics. Two of them grabbed her by the arms and tossed her outside the gate like old furniture. By the time I arrived in Horace's car and pulled up at the villa, the scene before me was Mrs. Kim and Stephen lying on the driveway like garbage thrown out with the trash. Clothes and belongings were scattered everywhere. From the back seat, one of my childhood friends burst out laughing. "Horace, the bodyguards you hired are savage." I love it. Chapter 15. The moment I stepped out of the car, Mrs. Kim scrambled up from the ground and came charging toward me, shouting, "Celestine, are you insane? With that spoiled princess attitude of yours, you think you're fit to be my daughter-in-law?" My friend pulled out their phone and turned on the camera. Their voice was even louder than Mrs. Kim's. "Everyone come take a look. This sugar baby and his mom are throwing tantrums in the driveway because they got kicked out by the rich girl they were leeching off of. These days, sugar babies have zero professionalism. Look at this wannabe social climber hoping to marry into money like a Cinderella knockoff." Even though the villa neighborhood wasn't crowded, gossip travels fast. Soon a small crowd of security guards and housekeepers gathered to watch the drama. Stephen, humiliated, tried to hold back his mom and keep her from making a scene. "Stop filming. What are you staring at? Who are you calling a sugar baby?" My friend replied. "If you're this worked up, maybe we hit the nail on the head." Unable to shut everyone up, Stephen turned to me with righteous indignation. "Celestine, are you seriously just going to let them insult me like this? I know you're upset, but can't we settle this privately? Did you really have to send bodyguards to kick me and my mom out of the house? How far are you planning to take this? Careful, you might go too far and end up with nothing." Stephen thought he was threatening me, but I just stared at him, calm and amused. He still believed that was some kind of powerful threat. What a joke. It's not that he didn't want me anymore. It's that I didn't want him. I put on a troubled face and said sweetly, "Stephen, my mom always told me, once you're engaged, you can't fool around outside anymore. You have to clean up your side pieces." "What? Side piece? Who are you calling a side piece?" I replied, full of sarcasm. "My lawyer should have contacted you already, asking you to repay the IOUs. But he said you refused. So if I've been supporting you financially all these years, what does that make you? A side piece I paid for sounds about right to me." "Uffed, ha ha ha." My friends burst out laughing, nearly falling over. They gave me thumbs ups all around. Can't argue with that. Facts are facts. I'll admit, I have a sharp tongue, but I came up with that line after thinking about it the entire ride here. He humiliated me during the engagement party. Now it was my turn, and I believe in returning every blow tenfold. I'm the type who doesn't let herself be wronged twice. Stephen's face went through the whole color spectrum: red, green, blue, purple. He was mortified, but didn't explode. Instead, he took a deep breath and walked toward me, trying to talk calmly. "Celestine, what's all this drama for? You're just doing this to force me to marry you." "Right. Fine. I'll marry you." "Okay. We'll hold the engagement party again tomorrow. You can eat all the Swiss rolls you want. Just stop being mad at me." "All right." Chapter 16. Horace pulled me into his arms, glaring at Stephen with undisguised contempt. "Marry you? Dream on. You're a broke, stingy piece of trash, not even worthy of tying my fiancé's shoes." Stephen's voice shot up a pitch. "Fiancé?" Even Mrs. Kim joined in, screaming, "What fiancé? Celestine is my son's fiancé." My childhood friends immediately started heckling. "Ma'am, please, be realistic. You think your freeloading son is worthy of someone like Celestine. Horace and Celestine already held an engagement party. He's the real deal now. Stephen panicked, shouting,
No.
That's impossible. Celestine loves me, she would never get engaged to someone else. I pulled out my phone and played the engagement party video for him.
Then,
In a deliberately pitying tone,
I said,
Stephen, it's true. I really did get engaged to Horace.
So, I really can't keep a side piece around
Anymore. How would I explain that to the Koo family? Stephen was seething. This was way beyond humiliation. I told you, I'm not a side piece. I never made you support me for free. I gave you IOUs.
Didn't I?
Every cent I took from you, I promised to repay. I watched his meltdown with perfect calm. But didn't you refuse to acknowledge those IOUs? Didn't you say you wouldn't pay it back? If you don't repay the debt, then what were you? Just a plaything I funded for entertainment. Only if you return every cent does this become a loan. Otherwise, you're just a kept man. Nothing more. I spent millions on Stephen, and I was going to make him cough up every last dollar. If he didn't, then I'd make sure the whole world knew. Stephen Kim, the PhD his family was so proud of, was nothing but a kept man I paid for. I'd make sure he never lifted his head again. Horace tightened his arm around me. Don't waste your breath on trash. Let's go grab dinner. As for this villa, forget it. I'll have someone list it and sell it off for you. I smiled. Sure. You're the fiancé now. You can handle household matters from now on. We turned to head back to the car. Celestine wait. Stephen suddenly dropped to his knees with a loud thud. I know you can't possibly be truly engaged to Horace. You're just childhood friends. This whole thing is just payback for what I said to you that day. I'll apologize, okay? I regret it. I swear I'll never upset you again. Please let's stop this now. Even Mrs. Kim panicked and threw herself at my feet, grabbing my leg. Celestine, if you're angry, blame me. Stephen loves you truly. Horace kicked Stephen away with a cold sneer. Filthy garbage. Don't touch what's mine. I looked down at Stephen kneeling at my feet,
Amused.
The last time I saw him this pitiful was that rainy day in high school. But I was no longer the soft-hearted Celestine I used to be. One betrayal, and I'd never marry you. Stephen, this isn't an act. I'm not only getting engaged to Horace, I'm going to marry him. So take your mom and get out of my life. Chapter 17. As soon as we got in the car, Horace practically pounced on me, pulling me tightly into his arms. Don't back away. You said it just now. It's not an act.
And you'll marry me.
Celestine, are you telling me you're ready to make this real? Ugh, this guy really knew how to focus on the key part. I only said that to slap Stephen in the face.
But before I could say
anything that might burst his bubble, Horace cradled the back of my head and silenced me with a kiss. He was like a wolf who, once he got an inch, wanted a mile. My brain went blank from his kiss, but annoyingly, I really enjoyed it. In that moment, I seriously started to think, maybe marrying Horace wouldn't be such a bad idea. We knew everything about each other. Our families were close. Maybe I should give Horace a chance and give myself one too. I didn't know how long it lasted. Long enough for me to nearly suffocate. Finally, Horace let go, breathless but still reluctant, and gently pinched my nose.
Celestine, will you seriously consider me?
I nodded, flustered and dazed. Okay. His eyes lit up, thrilled but nervous. Really? But my dad says you still owe me a proper betrothal gift.
Chapter 18. Wow.
I had only made a casual remark.
But the very next day,
Horace showed up at my house with his parents. They handed over the bride price list for my dad to review. A sky-high dowry worth $100 million. I was stunned. My dad went even bigger and declared he'd give me double that amount in dowry.
$200 million.
He said that when I get married, I'd take both the bride price and the dowry with me. My dad and Uncle Koo have spent their whole lives secretly and not so secretly competing with each other. And now even the bride price and dowry had become a battleground. Uncle Ku groaned that he regretted not offering more and added another 100 million. My dad raised him too. Horace and I sat silently on the sofa, like two juniors with zero say in anything. Horace eventually pulled me outside for a walk, leaving the two elders to their war. I secretly texted my dad. Dad, enough already. Everyone knows we're rich. Back when Stephen and I were discussing engagement, you weren't this generous. All you gave me was one house as a dowry. He replied instantly. That was different. No way I was gonna throw real money at a freeloading bum you were supporting. You might have been foolish, but I wasn't. If you'd married Stephen, I'd have made sure you guys had food and shelter, nothing more. Not a cent extra. Good thing Stephen showed his true colors right before the finish line. The moment I saw Horace step in to save the day, I was grinning all night. Your Uncle Ku and I already agreed. Your wedding is set for next month.
Me. What?
That's soon.
Dad. Soon.
We're already pushing it. Your Uncle Ku wanted it this month, but there weren't any good dates available. So we're settling for early next month. He sighed about it for half a day. So they were afraid I'd still go back to Stephen. Haha. Uncle Ku is kinda adorable. Chapter 19. 1 month later. The media was ablaze. The powerful Ku and Song families were officially joined in marriage, a true power alliance. Even Stephen, who had refused to believe I'd really marry Horace, had to face the truth now. On my wedding day, he came to find me,
drunk,
hollow-eyed. His eyes were red as he apologized. Celestine, I swear I'm not the kind of man who'd stop you from eating Swiss rolls. It was my mom. She said we were marrying up, and that once we joined your family, we'd be looked down on. She told me if I didn't toughen up, I'd have no authority. Those Swiss rolls were just an excuse. Celestine, I was wrong. I really messed up. I don't know what I was thinking, listening to my mom like that. Please, I'll change. I'll do whatever you say. Just give me one more chance.
Okay.
I'm begging you, don't marry Horace. Without you, I can't go on. I wrinkled my nose, disgusted by the stench of alcohol. I gave him just one sentence. Then die. Stephen looked like he shattered right in front of me. He never expected something so cold to come out of my mouth. He stared at me in my beautiful wedding gown, but it wasn't for him. He kept muttering in disbelief. I was supposed to be the groom. Why did I mess everything up? Ha ha. I pushed away the one girl who ever truly cared for me. What do I do? How can I win you back? You can't. Not in this lifetime. There's no medicine for regret. I picked up my phone and called security, had him thrown out. Between his desperate groveling and what Horace's cousin told me in the makeup room earlier, I knew exactly which one I'd rather hear. She'd said, Sis-in-law, you have no idea. At your engagement party, that was the first time my cousin ever asked for help in the family group chat. He sent out a flood of red envelopes and said he wanted to marry you. He said whether he could win you away from Stephen depended entirely on how fast the family moved. Seriously, he probably won't ever beg like that again in his life. Even my aunt and uncle chimed in and asked everyone to help him.
They said,
It's our son's first time trying to steal a bride, everyone. Please do your best. Help him marry Celestine and make this the perfect performance for her. Don't let her feel embarrassed in front of anyone. I imagined that scene in my head, and suddenly, I felt incredibly happy. That feeling of being valued, being treasured like a precious gem. It was amazing. Celestine, was born to marry into a family like this. Chapter 20. The next time I heard about Stephen was 6 months later. Word was, his reputation had been completely ruined by a few of my devilish childhood friends. He was a PhD student, hoping to graduate and stay on as faculty. But my shameless little crew kept putting up big character posters around campus every couple of days, accusing him of being my former kept man, a sugar baby who lived off a woman. The scandal blew up. It got ugly. His position at the university ended up going to someone else. Stephen tried applying for jobs elsewhere, even considered teaching overseas. But before his overseas application could be approved,
My friends got wind of it again.
they sent letters to report him, again calling him a sugar baby. As long as he didn't pay me back, the kept man label would follow him for life. Stephen couldn't take it anymore, no matter how much he wanted to pretend those IOUs didn't exist. He called me in frustration.
Celestine.
Do you really have to push me to the brink? Even if we'll never be together again? Was everything you did for me back then fake? I don't believe it. Back then, when I was at my lowest, in complete darkness, you were the only light in my world. I was sick of hearing him constantly romanticize the past. Being your light was the unluckiest thing I ever did.
Pay me back. Now.
That finally shattered his pride. He exploded over the phone. You heartless woman, fine. I'll sell everything I own if I have to. I'll repay every last cent. Just tell your vicious little crew to stop ruining my life. But for Stephen, the millions he owed me were a fortune. Rumor had it he took out high-interest loans to pay me back. And when he couldn't make the payments, those loan sharks splashed feces and paint all over him and his mother's door. The two of them ended up fleeing, hiding from one place to another. No one knows where they are now. As for me, under Horace's encouragement, I applied for a PhD program. He said to me, "It's not like you need to make money anyway. If you want to get your doctorate, go for it. You can always go into research or teaching in the future." I said, "All right, I'll give it a try." I still remembered how Stephen's mom used to brag that her son was getting a PhD. Like that made him untouchable.
So what?
I could get one too. As luck would have it,
I got in.
the day I received my acceptance letter. I was so excited I ran straight to Horace's office, bursting with joy. I couldn't wait to share the good news. Ever since we got married, he was the first person I wanted to share everything with. Whether it was happiness or frustration, I wanted him there to celebrate with me or to cheer me up. He was standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, sipping coffee. Tall frame, lean waist, perfectly sculpted back. I rushed up and covered his eyes from behind. Guess who? Horace pulled me into his arms, smiling as he kissed me. My wife. My childhood sweetheart. Then he leaned in and whispered in my ear, teasing, "And the one in my bed. Hee hee." As for the last word, I'm not telling you. Chapter 21, Stephen's Epilogue. 5 years later, after finally paying off the high-interest loans, I returned to City A, only to find out Celestine had become the star student of my former advisor, Professor Sue. Word was, she had spent 2 years at an international research institute abroad, participating in some major scientific project. I thought the long distance would surely have affected her relationship with Horace, but people told me the two of them were still acting like they were in the honeymoon phase. They had started with a marriage of convenience, but their love grew slowly, like an aged vintage wine that had been buried underground for decades, only getting richer and sweeter with time, especially during those 2 years Celestine was abroad. Horace flew across continents every few weeks just to see his wife. He never once complained about the travel. In fact, he seemed to enjoy it. I was so jealous how lucky he was to be able to love Celestine so openly, so unapologetically. I still remembered that rainy afternoon back in sophomore year of high school, the day she handed me a handkerchief. She didn't look down on me. Instead, she comforted me. "Stephen, don't be scared. I'll help you. I'll use all my allowance to pay your tuition. Please don't cry."
That day,
I swore I'd treat her well forever. That when I finally made something of myself, I'd repay her with everything I had. But when I thought I had finally become successful, I ended up losing her over 2 stupid pieces of dessert. How ridiculous. How pathetic. How absurd. And now, I was reaping what I had sown. Why did I ever let it get to my head, thinking that getting a PhD made me worthy of her, that I had the right to set rules for her at our engagement party, to humiliate her? I hated my mother, but more than that, I hated myself. Over the past few years, my relationship with my mom had only gotten worse. She kept trying to introduce me to girls better than Celestine, kept bragging to people that her son had a PhD who had been forced into hiding by debt collectors, who couldn't even afford to buy a home. What was there to brag about? Forget finding a girl better than Celestine. Even ordinary women, once they heard I came from a single-parent household, had no house, no car, and a difficult mother-in-law, didn't want anything to do with me. Not that I wanted them either. After you've seen the vast ocean, every other body of water looks shallow. Once you've seen the rare clouds above the mountains, no other sky will do. After Celestine, no one else mattered. But for the rest of my life, Celestine would never even glance at me again. I told my mother, stop trying to set me up with anyone. Let me stay single for the rest of my life. I deserve it.